Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, January 14th, 2018. Graham is back and he's bad. He's extra bad. Last week I asked you guys if you were excited to have Graham back on the show, and it was a really close vote. It was 56-44 in favor of Graham's presence, but I wonder if those results started to shift a little bit more toward the end of the week, because I'll admit I was very excited for Graham's return, and in fact I voted yes on the poll on Sunday that I was excited to have Graham back, but then by Monday I started to feel really guilty about it because he shows up right off the bat at the Abbott mansion with an army of cops behind him and a court order that allows him to rip Dina away from her family, whisk her away to who knows where, and there's really nothing that the Abbotts can do about it. The odd thing that I'm still trying to wrap my brain around, even having absorbed the entire week's show, is why does Dina want to go with him? I still don't understand that. It comes off as if she is yet again choosing something else over her family. I don't know why she's so drawn to Graham and why she doesn't feel the comfort of her children and be drawn to that instead. Her children have nothing to offer her at this point except for unconditional love and support and care in her current condition, and Graham is telling her that she should come with him because they're gonna go on a fabulous cruise around the world. All of this just to lure her away from her family so that he can put her in a facility. I mean, he manages to get her out of the house. She's happily smiling, practically planning her cruise wardrobe. The second he gets her isolated and actually out at the athletic club, he starts to change the story, talking about the change of plans, and you can tell he's trying to prep her for going into a home. It's really hard to root for Graham now, especially after the way that he was manhandling Dina to try to get her to cooperate. He's out in public and he's kind of grabbing her. I mean, I don't think it was hard or anything, but I want to say this is maybe the second time that we've seen Graham get a little physically aggressive or try to physically force Dina. So it's a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit of an offshoot of what I was hoping and expecting for Graham. The Abbotts are able to get a hearing, an emergency hearing, to challenge the validity of Graham's power of medical attorney. Basically, it's a hearing to determine the custody of Dina. Doesn't that seem so demeaning to her? Just the idea that people are fighting over custody of this woman it's just, Dina has been so strong and so independent for so long, and now here she is sitting in this custody hearing thinking that she's at a divorce hearing from her husband, John Abbott, who she thinks is Jack, or who she thinks Jack is. It's just horribly. She's confused. I'm confused and saddened. It was just heartbreaking, the entire court hearing, especially when Graham's lawyer puts Jack on the stand, starts to question him and really lays into him about his trouble that he's currently having within the family with Ashley, the trouble that he's having at work, and lays out in front of the judge the inability that the Abbotts have had to properly care for Dina, that she's continually getting into these bizarre and criminal situations under their care, and things get so intense while Jack is on the stand, Dina bursts into tears. I started crying at this point. She's saying out loud, "Judge, just grant John the divorce, okay? Or punish me, sentence me. I'm the one who abandoned my babies. I'm the one who had countless affairs. Countless affairs." I felt pretty bad for Jack in that moment. Like, was that the Alzheimer's talking? Or was that the truth coming out about how many Dina's affairs there actually were? And is that a little bit of a nod to any kind of more storyline twists that might be coming down the pike for the future? I felt for Dina, I felt for Jack, I feel for the entire Abbott family. It doesn't look good for them. But Ashley and Tracy were late to the court hearing, which really ticked Jack off, by the way. He thought, what, am I the only one who's holding this whole troupe, this whole circus together? You guys can't even show up at the hearing. But Ashley and Tracy smartly have been poring over old Mergeron files, Dina's old company files, looking for some kind of evidence that's going to help them, and lo and behold, they were able to discover, just in the nick of time, a copy of Dina's memoirs. She had been writing the story of her life. Very, very conveniently, Ashley and Tracy were able to find a passage specifically related to Graham. Dina was chronicling the relationship that she had with Graham, starting with the way she met him, how she became smitten with him, and then little by little how she developed the mistrust with Graham, and finally even noting the way that she started to accept Graham's role in her life after being diagnosed with the Alzheimer's. So all of this information is being read aloud in the courtroom, making it look really, really bad for Graham, but Graham has one more trick up his sleeve. Graham takes the stand and he declares that anything that the Abbotts have to say is moot. None of what they've read in Dina's memoirs even matters because Graham and Dina are married. And that makes him her legal next of kin, so he can do whatever he wants with Dina. Oh, it was a decent twist, but Jack's face. Oh, I freeze framed that look on Jack's face, seeming so confused by this revelation, realizing that this man, as if he couldn't get any scummier, has married Jack's infirmed mother. Ugh! Does that mean I have to call him Dad now? This really takes Graham to a villainous new level, when I was hoping that we would at least be going in a pro-Graham, or at least a rootable for Graham type of situation. I have to take back what I said last week. I don't think that this bodes well for Graham or Dina's long-term stay on the show. I think that Graham is on the fast track to becoming just a one-dimensional soap opera bad guy. And for a woman who was once so vital, so vibrant, so strong, so independent, it's tough to see Dina so weak and so feeble. The Abbotts were able to serve Graham with an injunction to at least keep him in town. He's not able to take Dina out of the state at this point, and it buys the Abbotts at least a little bit more time to help save her life, while they work on a way to get this marriage annulled. I'm sure that that is going to happen, right? The marriage is technically legal, but since Graham actually, it was revealed a little later that Graham actually married Dina after he knew about her diagnosis. It was in Florida, if I understand correctly, after Dina had had the stroke at or after Ashley's award ceremony, right? Is that right? So basically, if we travel back on these events, Graham left Dina for dead in that hotel room, lying passed out on the floor, then went to the hospital. She was, and then whisked her away. That was when he revealed he had her medical power of attorney. He took her to Florida and married her. This marriage is absolutely going to be annulled. It's going to be a piece of cake. It would be nice if they could get a hearing and get that annulled as fast as they were able to get a hearing about the medical power of attorney. That happened in about a day, but this is obviously going to take some time, and Jack and Ashley are going to continue to bicker over Jabot and not focus on the things that need to be focused on while all of this is going on. This week, Jack presents Ashley with her brand new state-of-the-art lab. I was really excited about the promise of this lab, and then I was kind of disappointed when I saw it. It looks exactly like the old lab, only smaller. I don't know. I was hoping it would be something at least a little bit different. Ashley and Jack are down in the lab. Jack is introducing this to Ashley as if it's a great thing for her, but Ashley just sees it as Jack trying to throw her a bone. So they're bickering about Jack's perception of the lab as Ashley's place. That's like her place in the company, and Jack's place in the company is as the CEO, and it's just caused a whole new level of arguing over the company. Ashley notices on one of the shelves that there are a few things out of order, and she specifically notes that there are some toxic chemicals that are sitting right here next to the oils, and those two things should not be sitting next to each other. That could be very dangerous. Well, apparently this state-of-the-art lab does not have a state-of-the-art security system, because in the middle of the night when everybody's gone, somebody, a masked figure, comes in, just ransacks the place, knocks some stuff over, spills some stuff, and specifically grabs that poisonous, toxic vial of who knows what. I don't even know why they needed that in the lab, but this person takes it, waltzes away. I had a couple of different theories in my mind of who it could be. I mean, I was really trying to watch the figure to see if it was Graham. That's the obvious choice, but then I was like backtracking and thinking maybe Ashley hired somebody to ransack the lab so that she could make Jack look bad. Like, my mind was immediately spinning with twists. But it's revealed in the following episode that the masked man is indeed Graham. Graham's sitting there in his hotel room pulling out all of these vials, including the toxic one. So I don't know what he's planning to do with it. My best guess is maybe he wants to try to sabotage some of the Jabot products, like create a PR and business nightmare for Jack and Ashley to distract them from his plan, whatever it is. I mean, and that part is already working. Ashley marches into Jack's house later in the week and tells him that the arbitration is off. She's going forward with the whole lawsuit over the CEO thing. So in that way, Graham is succeeding in causing a break in the family and causing them to not focus on the danger at hand. Dina's in danger. I mean, Graham has shown himself to be a dangerous person. Her life could be in danger. I mean, I'm worried about everybody. I'm thinking about all of the consequences. I could see Graham dragging Gloria, his buddy Gloria, into whatever evil mastermind plan he's got going on. And I don't want to see that for Gloria. The other thing that keeps circling around in my mind is a conversation that happened between Ashley and Tracy. They were at the mansion this week, kind of making up. They had some rough words between them last week, and this week they are coming back together. And Tracy makes an interesting comment about Ashley's frame of mind and how Ashley is handling all of this drama that's going on with the family. Tracy makes a comment about Ashley's mental health, and Ashley says, "Oh, are you worried that all of this is going to send me back to Fairview?" So that made me wonder if maybe Ashley could be Graham's next target. Is there any chance that he's going to put some kind of poisonous chemicals in her drink or her products or in the lab or something to make her think that she's going crazy? Like, I don't know. It's a possibility. Graham can just line up and take a number, though. He certainly wouldn't be the first person to get their kicks out of gaslighting Ashley. I cannot really even imagine what it's like to have to parent a rebel teen. I can really only relate to the situation with Reed in thinking about myself as a teen. And look, I was no angel. It was pure luck that I never got caught or never hurt anybody else with any recklessness that I had done as a teen. I mean, I think a lot of teens go through their defiant phase. But getting a DUI is really, really serious, and I think it's something that needs to be approached with a level of seriousness. And instead, it really feels like Victoria and JT and everyone, in a way, is kind of walking on eggshells around Reed. They're all just hoping that he's going to come around, waiting for him to see the light. But Reed is just a Sour Patch Kid right now. He feels like this DUI is going to ruin his life. And he's given very little thought that we've seen as the audience to the lives that he could have ruined by getting behind the wheel after drinking. And I really feel disappointed in him for choosing to turn it outward and blame Maddie for the decision that he made. He needs to be looking internally, and instead he's wanting to lash out and blame everyone else. Early in the week, JT tried to do a nice thing by arranging a surprise meeting between Reed and Maddie, but it did not go well. Reed is just too busy being a selfish brat to realize that Maddie did what she did because she loves him and because she wanted to try to save his life. I mean, look, would I have called the cops? I don't know. I just don't know what I would have done in her situation, but I respect her for it. I think she's a good girl, and I support the decision that she made. I really think she was trying to help Reed. I think over and over we're seeing Maddie trying to help Reed, and over we're seeing Reed lashing out at her, lashing out at Victoria and JT, even refusing to go to his court date. It's hearing day. It's time for his butt to go to court and receive his sentence for what he's been charged with. And Reed is sitting around in his holy shirt and his sweatpants and his shaggy hair. I love that Charlie called him Shaggy this week. That was kind of funny. But he's like got his feet kicked up on the coffee table telling Victoria and JT that he doesn't have to go to the court date because the internet said his lawyer can just go enter his guilty plea for him. Well, JT gave the kid a reality check, saying, you know, you want to pretend that you're an adult. You're so close to being adult, and yet you're acting like a child. You need to get your butt down to that courthouse and accept your punishment like a man. Plus, we already have the courtroom set up from Dina's hearing, so we need to use it. I liked, at least, though, that we got some new lawyers this week. We got to see a lot of courtroom this week. We had two lawyers, two judges. I really liked Reed's judge. I thought she had a lot of personality. She was a no-nonsense kind of woman, and she had, like, she felt like a real judge somehow, and yet she had a sense of humor. I just thought whoever played that role really knocked it out of the park, because how often do you ever notice the sideline characters like a judge or a lawyer? But I noticed her, and I thought she was really good, and I liked that she reinforced the seriousness of the crime. Teen drinking and driving is a real problem, and it kills. I mean, it kills. So Reed, in my opinion anyway, not only deserves to be punished, but he needs to be punished. I think that a punishment is going to serve him well. He needs to really understand, and sometimes a good punishment, a strong, strict punishment, can help someone understand the gravity of what they've done. Reed needs to look internally, but since Reed is a first-time offender, the judge is ready to go a little bit light on him. I was even just disappointed that it seemed like the judge was preparing to give him the minimum sentence until Maddie Ashby, who apparently watches soap operas, because she felt that it was appropriate for her to just walk in to the courtroom, make her announcement, and wish to speak on Reed's behalf. I love that the judge was like, look, this is not like a trial. That's not how this works. But Maddie had something to say, and the judge just must have said, fine, get it out. And Maddie wanted to let the court know that Reed was in a frame of mind that night that maybe should be taken into consideration. I mean, essentially, Maddie says, look, Reed was upset over his parents and this and that, and Maddie just wanted to present this information because she had it, and the second that she was opening her mouth, Reed was lashing out at her again. I mean, he realizes that this is just gonna get him into more trouble. The judge can read people. That's what the judge does all day long, and the judge realizes in that moment, looking at Reed, that this is not a teen who understands the gravity of what he's done and wants to make it right. So after Maddie comes in and gives her speech, the judge actually gave Reed a harsher sentence. I was kind of glad. I was like, good, you know what? Good. Although I will say, I kind of feel like the harsher sentence was still not that harsh. He got a fine, first of all, which was like $400. I'm sorry, I don't know what the laws are in Wisconsin, but if you get busted with a DUI in the state of Illinois, you're gonna pay $15,000. I mean, it is a big ticket crime. I mean, the state makes some money on those DUIs. You are gonna be paying off your DUI for years, unless you just so happen to have 15 grand to write the check. So $400 seemed a little low to me, a little unrealistic to me. I would have way rather seen Reed have got a heftier fine for what he had done. The judge also gave him like 25 hours of community service. Again, that doesn't seem that much. That's like 1 week of working a part-time job. 25 hours? That's still not even a big deal. And Reed is talking back about saying, oh man, you know, I mean, like that's the end of his word. $400 and 25 hours of your time for what you did. It's clear he doesn't understand that what he did is a big deal. His reaction says everything that, you know, what's the big deal? I should just kick it off easy. Well, because he's talking back, the judge actually decides to give something that's gonna stick a year without his license. You're not gonna get your license back for a year. That's the only thing that actually seemed legitimately like a punishment to me, and I would have made it 2 or 3 years. Now maybe that's a bit much. Maybe I'm being a little bit hard on him. I don't know, but I felt I didn't feel bad for Reed, I guess is the point. I felt so much worse for Maddie in that moment than I did for Reed. She had the best of intentions trying to help him, and she did make it worse. She was trying to do the right thing, and she did make it worse. Reed sees a little bit of the light, chases her out of the courtroom at the end of the scene, asks if they can hang out sometime, and she shuts him down. Once again, good. She tells him, you know, I didn't do this so that I could get your forgiveness. I did this because I wanted to do the right thing, again, because that's who I am. When they get home, Victoria and JT discuss what to do about their unruly teenage son. I mean, Victoria and JT have had some ups and downs throughout this. They've had ups and downs and ins and outs and ins and outs and ins and outs this week and going through this roller coaster of emotions. I mean, they're trying to deal with what's going on with their son, and they're trying to deal with what's going on between each other. It's a lot, I think, for both of them, for everyone in the family, really, to process. They seemed throughout the week to be fluctuating, basically, between Victoria's natural instinct to have an iron fist drill sergeant approach to parenting, and JT seems to have a bit of a more relaxed approach and a little bit more of being able to identify with Reed's position and remembering being a teenage boy and all of that. But Victoria is the one who suggests sending Reed away to boarding school, of course, to help straighten him out. I thought that was an excellent suggestion. I loved it. I can't wait to send my kid to boarding school. I'm counting the days. It's gonna make parenting so much easier. Oh, I mean, who could blame Reed a little bit, I guess, for overhearing that and then deciding to book it. I mean, it's the wrong decision yet again from Reed, of course, but he hears that about boarding school and he grabs his little spindle and his little knapsack and he just like runs away into the cold Wisconsin winter night. He reveals that he spent the night at a friend's house when he shows up at Billy and Phyllis's apartment the next morning, and Victoria and JT don't even know that he's missing. I mean, here we can, of all the things that Reed has done wrong, now we're adding running away to the list, which is incredibly also immature. I'm just annoyed with this little whippersnapper right now. I don't know if you guys were reading it that way this week or not. Maybe you're wishing that it was a little lighter on Reed, but I'm mad at him. And I also just feel like this week has been filled with a little bit of inappropriateness because Reed goes to Billy and Billy wants to try to help. Billy has been a role model in his life since he came back into town, but at the same time, Billy's not his father. Billy's not his parent. This isn't his kid. It isn't really his place to do anything with Reed as far as punishment or whatever. I was very surprised that when Billy called Victoria and told her, we've got Reed, he's safe. I know you've been worrying, thinking your son's missing and ready to call the police, but he's fine, he's with me, he's safe. Rather than coming and getting him and ripping him out of my apartment, why don't you just let him stay with me tonight? Why don't everybody just cool off? I was shocked that Victoria agreed to that suggestion at all. I mean, I just can't imagine that I would let him stay. I don't know. I think maybe they're just so exhausted with what to do and they've tried everything, so maybe they're just trying to let Reed cool off a little bit at Billy's, but it seems like it's just giving him what he wants. I don't know. I was surprised that Victoria made that decision. I was surprised that JT talked Victoria and to relax, like while Reed's dealt with, why don't we just relax? Why don't we take the day off work? Let's play hooky. I know I am starting a new job, but let's play hooky and we'll go off and get some sweetest massages and we'll just come back to this with a fresh perspective tomorrow. Well, Nikki was having none of that. No. As soon as Nikki stopped by the house, saw Victoria and JT there, realized that they were doing nothing about this situation, she told Victoria and JT exactly what she thought, that they were being too soft on Reed, and considering the fact that JT lied to the police to save Nikki from having to do jail time in federal prison, she did not pull any punches. That woman was pretty fearless. What did you think of that? What did you think of Nikki's behavior this week? I want to give Victoria a little bit of leeway because she did want to punish she did want to punish Reed, but she was listening to JT, and I do think that it took a lot for her to pull herself back from drill sergeant mode and agree to loosen up, and then Nikki kind of butts in and takes charge of Victoria's son, though, without her approval, and I'm wondering if you guys thought that was appropriate. So that's our poll question for the week. Do you think that Nikki is overstepping her grandmother role? I can see it both ways, because on the one hand, it's not Nikki's child to parent, but on the other hand, it felt like Victoria and JT weren't really doing much. So Nikki flies over to Billy's house, practically drags Reed out by his ear, literally tells him to march, like get your butt out this door and march. She takes him back to the ranch and seemingly back to the lap of luxury. JT, or gosh, I keep wanting to call Reed JT. Reed and Nikki are all sitting there having a nice lunch with Victor, enjoying all of the estate's amenities, and I thought, oh great, here we go again. This is Nikki and Victor raising another one of their grandchildren. We saw the same thing with Faith months and months ago. Faith was having trouble being at home with Sharon, and so Nikki and Victor just took her in, and they just gave her everything that she wanted and babied her, and I thought, oh great, that's what we're about to get with Reed. Things go wrong at home, so Nikki and Victor just take one of the children to the ranch. But then it takes a really quite delicious turn when after lunch, Victor asks Reed if he'd like to have anything else you can dream of. And Reed says, you know, I think I would like to have a piece of cake. And Victor says, oh, you can have all the cake you want after you get done cleaning out the stables. Boom! I stood there in front of my TV and clapped. I literally applauded. I was so happy not only to see Reed get some punishment, but to see Nikki and Victor working together on it. You know what I mean? Like, they were obviously in on it together, and they both knew they were going to lay this groundwork and then bring down the hammer. I loved Nikki and Victor in that moment. And I felt like Reed did need to have the law laid down. It's tough because I think that it's something that maybe it wasn't Nikki and Victor's place to do, but it still needed to happen. I mean, Victor told Reed, this is what's going to happen. You're going to stay here at the ranch with your grandmother and I, and it's not going to be a cake walk for you, okay? You're gonna do your homework at a scheduled time. You are going to work out at a scheduled time. You are going to be earning the money to pay off your $400 fine. You can start at the stables cleaning out the horse muck. And like any good drill sergeant, Victor even says, I'm gonna make you cut your hair. I mean, wow. And Victor said, if you even try to run away, I'm gonna find you. I just thought it was great to see somebody do what needed to be done, even if maybe it wasn't the appropriate response. I wonder if Reed's gonna continue to stay there. Like, I wonder if that is what the course is gonna be. Is he really kind of gonna be in Victor's boot camp for the next couple of weeks? Or is he gonna go running back to Victoria's house begging her to take him back in? Well, if the plan is to go running back to Victoria's house, can you wait a couple of minutes, Reed? Because Mommy and Daddy are busy. Right now, Mommy and Daddy are a little busy. So just stay with Grandma and Grandpa for a little bit longer. I mean, here's the thing. It does feel to me like Victoria and JT are letting somebody else deal with Reed. They're letting somebody else deal with a problem child. I know it's okay to get help from family, certainly, but it feels like they're letting go. They're sleeping on the job, okay, literally. I mean, Nikki put the pressure on them. They were getting along, but when Nikki started putting pressure on them, it all started coming apart. They're arguing now on how to move forward, and at the same time, they're dragging out their past. I mean, these two people were married and divorced, and there's a lot of water under that bridge. Victoria is accusing JT of putting Reed last when it came to his family with Mackenzie. JT is accusing Victoria of blaming outsiders for problems that were caused by the Newman family. I thought that was kind of a good point, though, too. She is so mad at him, though. She tosses him out into the cold, and she gives him a chance to cool off before letting things heat up. She opens the door to let JT back in the house for his jacket. They lock eyes, then they lock lips, and then they lock bodies right there on the staircase, you guys. Right there on the stairs. Ooh, staircase sex for Victoria and JT. It was a nice build-up. It was a nice scene. It was a nice shot. I thought it was filmed. It looked real pretty. It was the end of Friday's episode. But I gotta tell you, all I kept thinking was, this whole stair sex thing looks great on the screen, but that has got to be wildly uncomfortable for the person on the bottom. I feel like I have been saying this every week, but I really love Charlie. He's become such a funny and likable young man. I appreciate also his commitment to reuniting Lily and Kane. So this week, the brash and sassy Paris tour that Lily has been poached for is going to end up taking a little bit longer than she originally thought. It's not going to be a quick trip. It's going to be possibly months of her being in Paris. And this is coming at a really difficult time when she and Kane have just decided that they want to try to work on their relationship. So no sooner have they made progress than Lily is now faced with a dilemma where she can either take this dream opportunity for her career or stay in town and patch things up with Kane. And she tells him this much. She's trying to be open with him, but he asked her not to go. And I thought, that doesn't seem very fair of him. I mean, he didn't pressure her to not go, but he made it clear that he still wanted to be with her, which I suppose is him just being honest. I know that they resolved to just try to be honest with their feelings, but I felt bad for her because it makes her feel like she has to choose between her career and her marriage, and I don't understand why she couldn't have both. I don't understand why they couldn't patch up their relationship with long distance. I mean, a long distance relationship could be just what Lily and Kane needed. They could schedule a few Paris trips to visit each other every couple weeks, have some phone sex. Absence should make the heart grow fonder, right? Let's see. I was expecting her to choose Kane, to be completely honest with you. I felt a little shocked that she ended up leaving. She actually does leave, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought for sure that he'd stop her or that she'd decide. I was surprised that she was actually gonna go. And on Friday, Kane was having a forced business meeting with Billy, thinking about the fact that Lily is now in Paris. She's having fun, she's loving life, and he's thinking maybe she's noticing other men while she's there. And Billy, of course, notices that Kane is not thinking about business. He's thinking about Lily. And again, I have to say, I love the dynamic between Billy and Kane because it's not entirely hostile. It should be, and it points it's gonna be, and it has been, but there's also sort of a camaraderie there that I can appreciate. So Billy tries to give Kane a little bit of a pep talk, saying, if you want to get Lily back, you're going to have to go big. You have to compete with Paris. So whatever you decide to do, it needs to be grand. Lily's going to need the grand gesture if you really want to get her attention. So Kane thinks about it for a sec and says, you know what, you're right. He flies up out of his chair. Billy says, where are you going? And Kane says, to get Lily back. To Paris, I assume, to get Lily back. Again, I applauded at my screen. I was very happy to see that. I mean, I hope we get to see a scene in Paris, even if it's not actually in Paris. I wouldn't mind seeing Kane finding Lily in a hotel room, or maybe even in a little bistro set. I just think what could be more romantic than a reunion for Lily and Kane in the city where they got married? Well, I gotta give a big thumbs up to Mal Young and the Y&R set builders, because we have 2 new sets at Newman Enterprises this week. First of all, we have Victoria's new office. I think it's like really really chic and feminine and modern, and I loved it so much. It was nice to see Victoria in her new office. I really enjoyed the little break room as well, the coffee area where Lily and Abby were chitty chatting. It was nice. It's nice to have something new. Thank you, Y&R. Scott is trying very hard, I think, to find his place in this company in a post everything that blew up with Abby universe. He went into Victoria's office and again is like, I don't really want to work with Abby, and Victoria is forcing him to. She's saying, you're gonna have to find a way to work with her, even if it's long distance. I mean, she's going to Paris, but you're gonna have to deal with her. You're in each other's orbit, like it or not, and it's just not exactly ideal for Scott. He loves his job and he loves Abby, but he can't seem to have both. So I did laugh a little bit when he goes to Lauren and he says, hey mom, can I borrow like $3 million so I can buy my job so that I don't have to like work awkwardly with this woman that I had an affair with? Sure, honey. I mean, obviously he knew that wasn't going to happen. It was kind of a funny moment. But then, oh my gosh, he went to Devon to ask Devon if he would buy hashtag. I mean, like, can you even imagine? I can't believe that he had the gall to do that. Can you imagine as a business owner that one of your employees goes to another company to ask them to buy one of your subsidiaries? Like, that was so inappropriate of Scott. I can't believe he would do something like that. If he was scared of Victor and Victoria's reactions and, you know, having them treat him differently at the company before, I mean, what are they going to say to him now? It feels like every single move Scott makes is dumb. Like, he's just tripping all over himself every single time he makes a move. It's just so much different from the guy who first came into town. I just think that this character needs a turnaround, and quick. Sharon's best revenge against a cheating boyfriend? An I'm fine party with wine and brownies and the girls. I love this idea. I love the spirit of this idea. Sharon was practically manic, insisting on how fine she is post-breakup. But then she ends up inviting a bunch of people over to her party that aren't really friends. I mean, I would think that maybe Sharon would like a little bit more of a relaxed girl time, and instead she invited a bunch of people who were awkward with each other. The big glaring thing that came out to me immediately was, why did Sharon invite Tessa? Mariah kind of cornered Sharon and said, why did you invite her? And Sharon said, well, she's dating Noah. She's practically family. No, she's not. She's definitely not practically family, and this isn't about Noah. This is about the girls. Mariah has been your wingman in discovering everything that went on with Scott and providing you with information about Scott. So why wouldn't you want to make her a little more comfortable? That was shocking to me. And I mean, the group of women just didn't end up getting along. I mean, like Chelsea, okay, that seemed like a good Chelsea and Mariah. I could see that those three people would get along with one another, but then Sharon called Hillary and asked Hillary if she wanted to come, you know, because Sharon's wanting some good PR for herself, and Hillary's a big old gossip, so she's hoping that Hillary will gossip about how fine Sharon is all over town. I just could not believe that Sharon would dare invite her, and the biggest problem of all, Hillary brought with her best friend, Phyllis. So Phyllis and Sharon have this really long history of rivalry. Phyllis didn't even know she was coming over to Sharon's house. She thought she was going to the ranch for a party. She didn't know she was going to Sharon's little cottage, and it went over like a ton of bricks in the room. I mean, Hillary tried really hard to broker peace between Phyllis and Sharon and everybody. And like Hillary was looking for this empowerment moment between the women. I mean, it was a nice idea, but it did not go over well. It in fact came off kind of weird. Like Hillary was wanting something more like a retreat. Like she was at a seminar or something, wanting to bring everyone into a big group hug, and everyone else just felt awkward, and it kind of ended up taking over Sharon's party. No one was going for it. But then Abby shows up. I was really surprised by this. Before Abby leaves for Paris, she decides on her own to come and give Sharon the apology that the Y&R chatters noticed was missing last week. So Abby goes to Sharon all on her own, tells her that she realizes what she did was wrong, and I think that took a lot of guts. I gotta give some credit to Abby for doing that in front of a room of people, no less. I mean, you know, that took some guts, I think. Sharon agreed to forgive Abby, but not to forget, of course. And it does seem like Sharon has a little bit of a new lease on life. This week, we had the return of Ghost Kathy. Ghost Catherine, the woman who stole Nikki's purse from the Christmas episode, aka the woman who is having the role on Y&R that should have been mine. I'm still not over that. In fact, I decided to wear a zip-up hoodie today, which was the same thing that the homeless woman was wearing. I was gonna bring a hat, but I'm a little warm. So just imagine me, if you're watching the video, with my zip-up hoodie and a hat on. I could play that role. I really feel like Y&R's missed an opportunity to bring me on. But I noticed that woman right away. She was very distinct. She has these big blue eyes, and I saw her in Sharon's coffee house, and I was like, what, wait a minute, something's going on here. She's sitting there with her kids, and Sharon really hones in on her for one reason or another. She realizes that this woman seems like she doesn't have money, like she doesn't maybe even have money for food. Sharon suspects that she's homeless with 2 children, and so she thinks it's okay to just get nosy up on this woman's situation, asking her if she has a place to stay. I mean, I felt a little bad for, at least for Kathy, because it's like, hey lady, you're kind of like getting up in my business here. I mean, and Sharon, I think her heart was in the right place, but crying out loud, she invites her to stay at the ranch. She invites her into her own home. I get that you really want everybody to believe that you're fine, Sharon, but are you insane? Like, this makes me think you are going insane even more than if you were setting fires around town and stealing things. Kathy's gonna rob you blind. This woman has already stolen 2 wallets that we've seen in the short time that she's been on the show. Can you even imagine every single knick-knack, perfectly placed knick-knack in Sharon's cottage being pilfered? I'm imagining that this is not going to turn out well. I think Nick is going to be ticked off about this. He did not want Scott staying in the same house with his daughter. Do you think he's really going to want this unknown woman staying there? I mean, that's just my guess. I don't know. It's possible that Nick could support it. He was there and noticing the woman with Sharon, so it's possible this could be leading into a new storyline or something. Like maybe this will be a humanitarian project for Nick and Sharon to work on together. Maybe they'll open up a community center or something like that for the homeless. Free day-olds for everyone. I have 3 little bits of casting news to share with you today, and I'll start with the sad news first. From Soaps in Depth, veteran actor Donnelly Rhodes has passed away at the age of 80, best known for playing Philip Chancellor II from 1974 to 1975 on The Young and the Restless. Very sad news. I also remember him from being on Soap, if you guys remember that show. I loved that show as a child, and I really liked Donnelly Rhodes. I have to admit, I thought he was a great leading man. I thought he was very sexy, and he's who I think of when I think of Philip Chancellor II. So that's definitely a bit of a bummer, but I do also have two positive casting notes here. We have two new people being cast, so I think we can speculate a little bit about how this is going to play in. Former telenovela star Jason Canella is joining the cast of The Young and the Restless. He's going to be on February 2nd as Arturo, a good-looking building contractor who will apparently use his charm to woo a client. Who would that be? Who is he going to woo? And then we also have actress and singer Shanika Knowles cast on The Young and the Restless in the newly created role of Simone. She's a talented singer on the verge of stardom who music mogul Devon Hamilton will take under his wing. And she is scheduled to appear in multiple episodes beginning Friday, February 9th. Apparently a relative, I think they said a cousin of Beyonce Knowles. I'm assuming an actual legit singer, so definitely she's going to be interacting with Devon in his music business, so we'll see where that takes us. Just thought I'd mention a couple of little those little juicy tidbits there, and feel free to speculate about who you think's gonna get who's gonna get this sexy new man that's coming into town. I am reckless and stupid, and I deserve whatever I get. Last week's quote was from a scene where Abby was talking to Lily regarding kissing Scott and getting caught, and she was coming down on herself for being so reckless and stupid. That one was a tough one. I think not a lot of people guessed it, but congratulations Jamie and Isabel, Henry and Robbie and Ambreen, who answered it was whiny Abby. Congratulations, you guys. Here's a new one. This was just a suggestion from one character to another. The line was, stick your head in a snowbank. I kind of like the idea. Stick your head in a snowbank. It reminds us that it's winter in Wisconsin there. And, I mean, I've been noticing so much just like the outside of people's doors being snowy. It really does feel like winter in Wisconsin. I have been enjoying that. So if you think you know who said this week's quote, you can go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. If you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. I had so many comments this past week, and a lot of them were about Graham. He's definitely a divisive character, which I normally like. The first comments I'm gonna read came in regard to the poll question where I asked you if you were happy to have Graham back on the scene. Rose at yrchat.com says, I voted no. I didn't enjoy round one of the taking advantage of an old lady and bickering with her children storyline. Now that I like Dina and know she has Alzheimer's, I'm gonna hate round two even more. I also received a pro comment here from Amanda who says, I didn't see your hell yes option, so I just picked yes. Amanda says, I adore the actor who plays Graham. He's fun and interesting and shakes things up. I'm happy to see him back, and it's not just because he sometimes responds to my lovelorn tweets. Oh, really? Well, I'd like to hear some more about that, Amanda. Julie at yrchat.com says, Jack and his siblings are really acting so righteous. They were abandoned by her, Dina, and they also, as adults, abandoned her. And now their behavior is so extreme. It's like the last 20 years have disappeared. I think it's just their entitled, arrogant behavior that makes me root against them and for Graham. So Julie, do you feel any differently though? I think you left this comment in the beginning of the week. Do you feel any differently now that it seems to be revealed that Graham is an evil, even more bigger villain than we first originally realized? Or are you still kind of seeing the Abbotts as seeming righteous and entitled? I mean, it seems like Dina's danger level has just spiked up, and I wonder, does that make you feel like the kids are a little more justified when it comes to Graham? Gary left me a voicemail, and this notion just struck me as amusing. Gary says, how does Dina see herself? As not only a loose woman who abandoned her babies, but as a bigamist, allowing herself to marry Graham when she's still married to John Abbott, only now seeking a divorce from him. I don't know why, but that just really tickled me. The notion that in Dina's mind, she is still married to John and she's at the divorce hearing, yet she seems full well aware that she is also married to Graham. It's just such a jumble of craziness, I suppose, inside of Dina's mind. Daisy on Facebook says, the law should be protecting Dina, but they are failing her. I hope that Paul and Christine help her before it's too late. I just love this little snippet of a comment because it's like Paul and Christine spent so much time trying to bust Victor on this sex ring thing. Well, where are they when things with Graham are just at this new level of devious? Quite a few people had mentioned, I don't know why I didn't think of this, but specifically I'll read a comment from Superplex here saying Graham might be planning to use the chemical that he stole on Dina. I don't know why I didn't like exactly connect that if Graham's the beneficiary of her estate and he probably does want to knock her off, then it's certainly possible that he's planning to just straight poison Dina. Maybe I'm just looking for more of a twisty twist. I'm looking for twists upon twists and ignoring the obvious, I guess. I just keep thinking maybe he's gonna go after Ashley. Oh, okay. We've got a lot of good predictions going on this week too. I'll read this one from Robbie at yrchat.com saying, picture this. After a series of violent outbursts and threatening comments from Jack, Graham is murdered. Everyone thinks Jack did it. A trial takes place. Ashley and Tracy even think that Jack is guilty, only to find out that it was Dina. Dun dun dun. Turns out Dina had a moment of clarity and remembered that Graham had left her for dead in her hotel room and all the rude comments he made about Ashley's party. After this moment of clarity, Dina kills Graham. It's due to this final act of violence that the Abbotts finally placed Dina in a memory care facility. Do you think that Graham is slated for death? I hadn't even thought of that. It's certainly possible. Maybe that is kind of what ends up happening to the one-dimensional villain, right? Oh, I hope not. He's a pretty good villain, though. Sandra at yrchat.com says, what if Graham sinisterly gave Dina a drug already, and the effect of that drug mimics the symptoms of Alzheimer's? Maybe the drug could be in her lipstick or foundation makeup, so each day she gets ready, she inadvertently gives herself a dose. Then he had her diagnosed with the disease in order to proceed with he and his mother's plan for revenge. You never know. If she stops taking the drug, we could get Dina back and she could be our matriarch. I hope so. That would be excellent. I would really like that. I've seen several people commenting that maybe Dina doesn't really have Alzheimer's. I've seen some people saying maybe she's faking it. I've seen some people saying that maybe she is being drugged. That could be a good twist and a good way out of this hole. Mary Ann at yrchat.com says, after listening to Dina's remarks to Lauren about her mother, I now wonder if Joanna, Lauren's mother, will return for a visit to see her grandson Scott and have a scene with Dina. Joanne was involved with John in the 1980s, so someone did their homework to bring that up, that history. I don't know anything about Lauren's mother. That's pre me watching, but I wanted to mention that because I'm sure that some viewers from the 80s will appreciate that. I guess it flew right over my head, so that was a good catch and something I never would have brought up. Aaron on YouTube says, I was shocked when Lauren came to the side of Sharon. She constantly implies that Sharon's too old for Scott and how she stole Sage's baby, but as soon as she learned Scott was cheating on Sharon, Lauren instantly became Sharon's #1 cheerleader, supporting Sharon and calling Abby a slut. I wonder after this confrontation, will we see Sharon and Lauren becoming friends? Maybe. Maybe. I got a really a good comment from Ellen at yrchat.com this week. It's a little long, but I really want to give you guys this kind of alternative to mine perspective on Scott. I've been pretty hard on Scott lately, but Ellen's going to give us something a little different. So, Ellen says, I was not gleeful watching Scott's downfall. I just felt annoyed that they decided to ruin his character. It was wonderful to see Sharon being strong, but it was sad that once again she has to be hurt. I disagree that Scott wanted to just fool around with two women. He seemed very conflicted, attracted to two women. It happens. He certainly handled it very badly. As I said before, it was stupid to portray that someone in full panic attack would be able to have sex. It doesn't work that way. But also Scott realized that Sharon didn't know about the sex. He intentionally told Sharon the truth. He seemed relieved to get it all out in the open. He certainly does seem very immature in terms of how to manage his feelings. The writers have turned him into a teenage boy when it comes to love. Very unrealistic for someone who has traveled the world as a war reporter. I was glad Sharon stayed strong, but I thought dumping oatmeal and throwing clothes on Abby's doorstep were very immature moves on her part. I thought their relationship deserved more. I thought the end of their relationship deserved more than high school antics. I liked Scott and Sharon very much as a couple, but I guess the writers decided to sabotage them so Sharon and Nick can get back together. Now Nick can be her hero who saves her from her bad choices in men. Excuse me, I'm going to be ill. I really liked that you said that about, you know, even as a viewer, of course, it's entertaining to watch the clothes getting dumped in the oatmeal and all that. I was in 100%, but you do make a point that it was an immature act by Sharon in reaction to an immature act by Sharon. I mean, that's definitely a different way of looking at it, and I really agree about Scott's character. I mean, it's easy to come down on him. It's really easy to hate him because he just, to me, seems like such a dog right now, but it's not, you know, I mean, it's all choices by the current writing team. I don't know if they're going to redeem him, but if they're going to do it, they better do it quick. Maybe they're just waiting around for Melissa Ordway to come back from her maternity leave. I feel bad for saying this, but perhaps now would be a time to recast that role. That's terrible. That's terrible. Okay, I'm sorry. I take it back. Recast of Abby. I'll let it go. Moving on. Cheyenne at yrchat.com says Hillary was the best part of the week because her behavior has made a full 360 degrees. Hillary went from the town's messy version of a Wendy Williams to Dr. Phil, and I love it. Hillary wanted a sisterhood moment, but with this group of women, it was never going to happen. Oh, let's chat about Reed. I had quite a few comments about this storyline as well. Jamie left me a voice message saying she didn't want to be the fun police, but the way that the show is depicting Reed and his flippant attitude is infuriating. I wish they would do more of a teaching scenario here. I absolutely agree, Jamie, and I was thinking the same thing. It's a serious topic that hits home for a lot of people, and I want to see Reed grasp the seriousness of his actions, not just use it as an excuse for Victoria and JT to have staircase sex, because it did kind of come off that way. It feels like Reed's bad behavior has been motivation to get JT and Victoria together, and if Y&R is going to dangle out something like teen drinking and driving, I do think they need to approach it with, you know, as you said, a little bit of a learning experience, as a teaching experience, and maybe that's to come, I don't know. But I will also add that even though I appreciated where Maddie's whole speech in the courtroom to the judge was coming from, it did also kind of come off as Maddie making excuses for Reed. Well, Reed was distraught about his parents' divorce. Reed was distraught about the fact that he didn't get into this music school, yada yada. I mean, it's not an excuse. None of these things are an excuse to do what he did, and ultimately I don't think that that information, you know, really contributes much to the fact that, or to taking away or adding to a punishment that Reed deserves to have. He still deserves the punishment. Zuperplex at yrchat.com says, I've not been a veteran viewer of The Young and the Restless, so I know about as much of JT as the next guy, but given from what I've seen, his son abandoned him, his wife left him, he lost his job in Poland. There must be something wrong with this guy. So glad you brought this specifically up, Superplex, because I keep thinking that there's something darker going on with JT too, and I don't know what it is, but I thought immediately, like, there's got to be something more that he did to Mac. I mean, I don't know if it was cheating or something, but I mean, it just kind of seems like there's more to the story with JT than we're being told. I just wonder if there's, I don't know, perhaps a darker side to him. T. Nicole at YRChat.com says what I'm sure we were all thinking. I wonder how the actors that play JT and Victoria are handling working together since they're getting divorced. With all the fighting and then the hot and heavy scene on the staircase, I wonder if any of their emotions toward each other seep into their acting to make those scenes more personal. I mean, I was thinking that too. I can't help it. Maybe we just love gossip. I just love gossip. But I was thinking that too. Like, just can you imagine? You go through the trouble of the divorce and everything that goes along with that, and then a couple of months, not even a year later, you have to be thrust into a scene where you're like hot and heavy having sex scenes with your ex. I mean, I don't know, maybe Y&R was just wanting to get these two back together. Maybe it will work to reignite the passion. Maybe there will be a remarriage of Amelia Heinley and what's his name? Thad Luckenbill in the future. Diana at YRChat.com says, I like the new break room set on the show. We see Abby and Lily in there together over a coffee. That helps give the show a sense of reality. Employees are known to gossip around the water cooler or lunchroom. It's such a nice change from always seeing the characters talking in fancy restaurants all the time. It makes them feel more like real people and like real life. I totally agree, and I've been thinking the past couple of weeks, what would be a good new set for the Y&R characters? I mean, we always see them either at home or at a restaurant, and then we've got the work sets, but yeah, it's always in somebody's office. So expanding the set out into the hallways, into that break room, I think that's a really good, smart move. Gives us something different, and as you said, adds a little bit more realism. Colleen at YRChat.com says, Victoria is an established and successful businesswoman. I love that they gave her an office and us a new set. The room is professional but feminine. The seating area is comfy and bright, and the photos of her with her kids and with Victor are a nice touch. Yes. Ellen also at YRChat.com says, is Victoria going to be the new ruthless leader of Newman Enterprises when Eric Braden finally retires? She's doing a great job of being a jerk and a boss, a jerk as a boss and as a parent. Seems like she's forgotten what it's like to have Victor as a boss and as a father when she was younger. She's repeating the same mistakes. Oh, that is true. She is basically repeating the same mistakes as were made with her. But I honed in on this comment, Ellen, because it's like hard to think of Eric Braden retiring. I know from reading his book that he plans to never retire. He wants to play this role until the day he croaks, and I'm fully for it. I can't even imagine Genoa City without Victor Newman. Okay, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed our Y&R chat and our Y&R this week. If you want to feedback and give me all of your juicy comments and opinions, you can go to yrchat.com to do that. You can call the voicemail, 309-588-4569. Feel free to let it rip. I love hearing from you, and I will be back next week to chat again about the show. So everyone have a good one. Bye!